and welcome back to Mr. Wiley's biology class. Today we're going to be learning about ATP in our bodies.
Okay, let's talk about what ATP is, okay? All right, so ATP stands for adenine, right? Or it's actually adenosine, excuse me. Adenosine. Let me erase all that because that's just messy. Stop it, Mr. Wiley. Stop it. I know, right? Adenosine, okay? Triphosphate. All right. This adenosine, this first part of the name, adenosine, comes from the fact that there's a ribose, that's where the OS in there, and an adenine. Okay, so the adenine and the ribose make this adenosine. And then here are your phosphate molecules. There are 3 of them, thus the word triphosphate. Now, when ATP gets used, right, this last one breaks off. And then it becomes 2 phosphates, diphosphate, ADP, which we're familiar with from the photosynthesis, right? The phosphate breaks off and it becomes ADP. Same thing happens in the human body when we burn energy. When we burn the ATP, we break off this phosphate, which releases some energy. When you break it off, that bond releases energy, and then we have to go back and add the phosphate back on again. So why would the ATP production in the body need to be constant? Why do we constantly produce ATP? Well, we're constantly alive, right? Okay, so cells only contain 30 seconds of ATP, all right? This is why if you start running at a full-on sprint, okay, as hard as you can, as fast as you can, you will only be able to hold that effort for 30 seconds. And then you're going to have to slow down. Okay? Okay, so your instantaneous, hardest effort is only going to last about 30 seconds. And then you will have to slow down a little. You may still be able to push it pretty hard, but it's not going to be, if you looked at a graph of your power production, like, on a bicycle, let's say, for that first 30 seconds, you might be able to do this much. But then you're going to see from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, it's going to start dropping, and then it kind of does this. So if we're going out, if this is like 10 seconds, and this is like 1 hour, okay, you'll see that like eventually you reach a steady state, but this maximum production is because of the max amount of ATP that you have.
Like
okay?
You say about me wheeling.
Right. So that's some fatigue too, right? Like your cells they're trying to recover their energy, but they only have a certain amount of time. Okay? All right. And so because we are alive constantly, we obviously need a constant source of ATP. Okay? So approximately your body weight.
You writing that down, Vinny?
Yeah, of ATP every day. All right, so every day you produce your body weight, roughly, of ATP. It's pretty amazing.
All so if you get like short-winded, does that mean you don't have a lot of ATP?
If you're short-winded, okay, if you start to breathe heavily, that is related to both the amount of ATP that you are producing and your cell's ability to utilize oxygen, okay? What that really tells me is that the amount of mitochondria in your cells is lower than somebody who can run longer or faster without getting as winded, okay? All right? And then you also have to think about, like, you're moving a mass, right? So if you weigh more, like we talked about, walking, you're going to use more energy. So you're more likely to run out of energy faster than someone who is lighter than you, because they don't have to use as much energy to get themselves going. Okay.
Well, man, you know what? You might have to win that race.
There's many different factors at work there. Okay. All right. Let's go quickly and look at the next little part here.
You're saying if he put against you, that's what you're saying, Vinny.
Well, you know, we bench pressing you already know.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. That is an immediate where you're using just that 30 seconds of stored ATP, right? So where you have the benefit is you have more muscle cells. So the amount of stored ATP you have for that one-time rep or that 10 reps of bench press is more than Wenzel. But over long-term stuff, Wenzel might be better at it because he has less mass to move. So things like running or things where your body weight
Or like
makes
a sprint.
influences, right, like a sprint. But in like a weightlifting thing, you don't have to move, you're not moving your body mass, you're moving a weight. And you're actually would be stronger at that because your muscles have adjusted to carrying your weight. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like you might be able to like leg press, if you had to do a leg press where you're not doing your own body weight, you could probably do way more than I can because your legs are stronger than mine in that regard because they have to support your body weight. They've adjusted, they've acclimated.
See, I knew you knew bro science.
That's not bro science, that's real science. That's the difference. That's called acclimation. Okay, so let's briefly describe ATP, and we have our picture, okay? All right, and I just wanted to say that its name, it's short for, right, adenosine triphosphate, okay? There we go. There we go. It is energy. Energy for your cells.
What do you
Okay?
think Cole Bullock's doing right now?
He is relaxing on the beach or sleeping in,
Yeah,
right?
sleeping.
You're probably sleeping right now.
All right, so
It's nighttime.
let's compare cellular respiration, which is what we're talking about now, to photosynthesis, which we learned yesterday, right? Okay, so let's talk about it in terms of energy carriers and the final products, okay? Right? Photosynthesis, okay, it makes, right? It makes glucose. Makes glucose, right? And it uses ATP to make it, right?
Glucose. Kratos.
Cellular respiration makes ATP, and it uses glucose to make it, okay? So it really is pretty much fundamentally the process backwards, basically, okay? So in the case of photosynthesis, right, for example, less chlorophyll would mean less glucose, right? Because it can't capture as much energy. And here, less glucose. So that when we talk about, you guys ever heard of bonking,
Bonking.
right?
No.
When you bonk in a sport, that means you run out of glucose and you hit the wall. It's called hitting the wall. And so your body has to rely on fat and proteins to make energy, which are very, very inefficient compared to how your body turns glucose into energy. So all of a sudden, you just can't do, like if you're trying to run, you're running at a certain pace, 7-minute miles, whatever, and then you hit the wall, you'll still be able to run, but all of a sudden you're going to be able to only run at like a 10-minute mile instead of a 7, because your conversion rate of molecules into energy just goes way down. So you suddenly bonk and it's just like you're almost dead. I remember bonking once and like I just couldn't go on. I just got off the bike literally and laid down in the middle of the road. And my buddies were like, dude, you can't lay here, okay? You got to get out of the road, man. Come on. So like they sort of nursed me over to like this shady area where I could get off the road and rest, and then they like went to the store and got me some food. No, not water, but food. Like I was just out of food because I had gone for this big long ride, and then went for another ride after, like with these other guys, right? And hadn't really had much breakfast or anything. I was on this kind of starvation. It was dumb. It was dumb.
Hey, if you have like
Okay, so I'm going to pause the video right now, and we're going to continue on with the whole process next.